What if I told you that beneath the endless golden sands of Egypt, a story is waiting? A story not of kings and queens alone, but of an entire civilization. For thousands of years, the desert has held its secrets close. It has guarded tombs filled with treasure and mysteries that we are only just beginning to understand. Imagine a single gust of wind blowing across a dune. It moves a few grains of sand, then a few more. Suddenly, the corner of a stone structure appears. This is how many of Egypt's greatest discoveries have begun. It starts not with a roar, but with a whisper from the past, an invitation to look closer. This land is a place of wonder, a landscape dominated by the life-giving Nile River. Along its fertile banks, one of the world's most incredible civilizations was born. They were farmers and engineers, artists and priests. They looked up at the stars and saw a map of the heavens. They looked at the sun and saw a powerful god, Ra, sailing his golden boat across the sky each day. This connection to the cosmos and the natural world shaped everything they did. It was the foundation of their beliefs, their culture, and their unyielding quest for eternal life. The ancient Egyptians left behind clues for us to follow. We see them in the towering pyramids that pierce the sky. We find them in the silent tombs, hidden deep within the earth. And we read them in the hieroglyphs carved into temple walls, a beautiful and complex language of pictures. Each symbol is a piece of a puzzle, a fragment of a much larger story. But are we reading it correctly? Are we truly understanding the message they wanted to send across the millennia? Or are we just seeing a reflection of our own ideas, imposed upon their ancient world? The mysteries are everywhere. Why did they build such massive structures with such incredible precision? How did they move stones weighing many tons across miles of desert? What did they truly believe happened when they closed their eyes for the last time? These are not simple questions with simple answers. They are questions that pull us back, time and time again, to the banks of the Nile. They compel us to keep digging, to keep searching, and to keep listening for those faint whispers carried on the desert wind, promising that more secrets are waiting to be found. The Great Pyramids of Giza. They are perhaps the most famous structures ever built. For over 4,000 years, they have stood as silent witnesses to history. They have watched empires rise and fall. They have endured the scorching sun and the relentless passage of time. We often think of them simply as tombs for the pharaohs. But were they only that? Some believe they were more. Perhaps they were power plants, generating a mysterious form of energy. Or maybe they were astronomical observatories, aligned perfectly with the stars to track cosmic cycles. The truth is, we don't know for sure. The construction of these monuments is a puzzle that continues to baffle engineers today. How did a civilization without modern machinery build something so grand? The common theory involves thousands of workers, pulling massive stone blocks up long ramps. But what kind of ramps? Were they straight, or did they spiral around the pyramid like a snake? And who were these workers? For a long time, people thought they were slaves, forced into labor. But recent discoveries suggest something else. Archaeologists have found the remains of a village near the pyramids, with bakeries and breweries. This suggests the workers were skilled laborers, well-fed and respected for their craft. Each stone was cut with astonishing accuracy, fitting together so perfectly that you cannot slide a piece of paper between them. This precision is mind-boggling. It suggests a deep understanding of mathematics and geometry. The pyramids themselves are aligned almost perfectly with the four cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. How did they achieve this without a compass? They likely used the stars, watching the heavens for guidance. These were not just piles of rock. They were monuments built with purpose, with knowledge, and with a connection to the universe that we are still striving to comprehend. So when we look at the pyramids, we should see more than just a tomb. We should see a testament to human ingenuity. We should see a symbol of a culture that dared to build for eternity. They were reaching for the stars, both literally and figuratively. They were creating a permanent landmark on the face of the earth, a message to the future that said, "We were here, we were powerful, and we will not be forgotten." The pyramids are not just a wonder of the ancient world. They are a challenge to our own understanding of what is possible. For the ancient Egyptians, death was not an end. It was merely a doorway to another existence, a journey to a paradise called the Field of Reeds. But this journey was dangerous. It was filled with trials and challenges. To navigate this perilous path, they needed a guide. This guide was the Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers written on papyrus scrolls. These scrolls were placed in the tomb with the deceased, acting as a map for the soul as it traveled through the underworld. Each spell was designed to overcome a specific obstacle or appease a fearsome god. To make this journey, the body had to be preserved. This is why the Egyptians developed the complex process of mummification. They believed the soul, or ka, needed to recognize its physical form to return to it. Priests would carefully remove the internal organs, except for the heart, which they believed was the center of intelligence and emotion. The body was then dried out using a special type of salt called natron. After many days, it was wrapped in hundreds of yards of linen bandages. Amulets and charms were tucked between the layers for protection on the long road ahead. The tomb itself was considered the eternal home for the deceased. It was not a place of sadness, but a palace for the afterlife. The walls were often covered with beautiful paintings. These paintings depicted scenes from the person's life, as well as images of gods and goddesses who would help them on their journey. The tomb was filled with everything the person might need in the next world: food, furniture, games, and even small statues of servants called shabtis. These servants were believed to come to life and do any work that was required of the deceased in the field of reeds. But what did this journey truly mean? It was a reflection of their deepest hopes and fears. They believed in a final judgment. The deceased would have their heart weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, they were granted eternal life. If it was heavy with sin, it would be devoured by a terrifying monster. This belief in accountability, in a life that was measured and judged, shaped their entire society. It was a moral compass that guided their actions in this world, all in preparation for the next. What was it like to be an ordinary person in ancient Egypt? While the pharaohs built monuments to their glory, daily life for most people unfolded along the green shores of the Nile. Society was structured like a pyramid. At the very top was the pharaoh, who was seen as a living god. Below him were the nobles, priests, and scribes, the educated elite. The vast majority of people, however, were at the bottom. They were farmers, fishermen, craftsmen, and soldiers. Their lives were tied to the rhythm of the river and the changing of the seasons. Every year, the Nile would flood its banks, depositing a rich black layer of silt that made the land incredibly fertile. This annual flood was the key to their survival. Farmers would plant their crops, wheat and barley for bread and beer, as the waters receded. They used simple tools like wooden plows pulled by oxen. Life was hard work, dictated by the sun and the needs of the land. But it was not all toil. They enjoyed simple pleasures. They played board games like Senet. They told stories and listened to music played on harps and flutes. Family was at the center of their world. Children in ancient Egypt had toys, like wooden animals and dolls. They played games and helped their parents with chores. Most boys would learn their father's trade, becoming farmers or craftsmen. Girls typically learned how to manage a household from their mothers. Only the sons of the wealthy were sent to school to become scribes. Learning to read and write the complex hieroglyphic script was a difficult task, but it was the key to power and influence. Scribes were highly respected because they kept the records, wrote the letters, and managed the vast bureaucracy of the kingdom. Even after thousands of years, the echoes of this lost world are still with us. We see them in the artifacts they left behind: a pair of leather sandals, a painted pottery jar, a child's wooden toy. These simple objects connect us to them in a powerful way. They remind us that these were real people, with hopes and dreams, joys and sorrows, much like our own. But as much as we have learned, Egypt reminds us that the past never gives up all its secrets. Beneath the sands, under the foundations of modern cities, more stories are waiting. The great age of discovery is far from over.